So I remember in one of the videos, I thought they would only get to this bottom yellow line here. What the hell is it at? 245? I thought they would only get to that the second time. Well, they're down there the third time. Just like over here almost. One thing about it though is we're forming that inverted head and shoulders again. So we're basically at the same point it was right here. So hopefully we get the same result. I don't know though. They're pushing pretty hard. Though the thing was though is today you didn't see, like in the minutes, you didn't see the volume of shorts that we have been seeing the last few days. So they're either running out of short chairs, or they're having a hard time getting them, or they're broken up between people that are shorting, or they're hanging on to them because if they can stretch this out, they get closer and closer to this trend line, and then they're going to give us a jab below that trend line. But everything you look at is extremely bullish right now. I mean, you got the double inverted head and shoulders basically here. If you go with this little incline here. And then this is the hour chart. So you can consider that basically a double bottom, you know. It's like 6 times, but I'd say a double bottom. But if you go to the 4 hour, same thing. Double bottom. And then if we go to the day, same thing. Double bottom. So if it can work its way back up and that be a double bottom, we're in a good, if they keep it above this trend line, we're in a good spot for this to take off. And like I was saying a couple videos ago, they had to push this down. So that used a lot. I mean, a lot of that, there was some selling and everything else, but that was a lot of shorts. So they're in this deep. I don't care what the numbers say because we don't get the right numbers. It's always delayed. So, but they're in this deep. So, and now with the amount of pushing that they're doing, if we can get this up, if this can, I shouldn't say we, because I'm not buying shares, but if it can push up, I gotta be careful how I say that. I'll be sitting in front of SEC going, I love the stock. But if it goes up above this 277 and you can get back to this 326, you're gonna force shorts to cover without a doubt. And then I was looking at look when this ran August of last year. That's the 16th. And we're right at that point where this took off. Now they have more days, like this started moving up on the 2nd, but so, I mean, any day. That's why I was kind of waiting to see what happened in after hours here. Because what we could see, if I go to the 5-minute chart. Remember in a couple videos back, I was saying when I was watching these two flatline consolidation things. Well, now we're on the 3rd day. It's basically consolidating. So if you go back to this pattern, now what you considered the 3rd day, if it's this day and these two, or if it's these two and this one, could we see this in the morning? Like here's the gap up, and then it runs up all day long, eh? Then it gaps up, runs up all day long. So if we skip this one, if we don't get this tomorrow, say it gaps up and then it runs down, you know, we could see that tomorrow, or we could see this tomorrow. So, but if you go back where I was saying there's a gap in the chart at that 360 something. Let's go back to the hour chart. No, at 260 something. Thought there was a gap in there. Wasn't there? I'm lost. I know there's a gap in that chart someplace. Oh, the 5-minute chart. So you got a gap right here. $260 to $263. What's this one go to? Oh, this went to 261. So 261 to 263 is where your gap is. So I wonder, so what I'm watching for is if they gap it up tonight to that, or tomorrow morning. Let's say it gaps up to 263, and then you could see that. Let's go back, see if we can go back to the then if they gap it up to that 263, you could see, you know, this, trying to get it back down to this bottom line. We could see this day. Remember, I was just telling you on the other one. Or it could gap up to that 263, and then we see this kind of a trend tomorrow. So I'll be curious to see what happens. I would think it would be one way or the other. But I honestly believe they ran this up because they covered shorts. And then they were able to knock it down again. And that could have been the same thing they did this morning. They covered some shorts so that they could short some more. And that's why the shorting was so minimal. Only when they knew they could get, like, day traders. Remember, I was telling you in an earlier video today, they could short somewhat, but then day traders would dump and stop losses would get hit. So it wouldn't cost them as many short shares. And then on these little run-ups, some of that could have been the same thing. Shorts covering a little bit, just enough to give them some relief. Because we really had no... I went through the minute chart, and there was a lot of times, minute-wise, you had 688 for the minute, 1,200, 900, 1,300. And then you'll have 1 minute was 93,000. Yeah, I mean, so there was no buying pressure there, but they weren't shorting it either. So something tells me that they're being really restrictive with when they use their shorts. And that could only be, there must be a limited amount. It has to be. Otherwise, you know, when you got a delayed buying spurt, you'd think they'd be shorting it down, trying to get it to this trend line, and they weren't. So be curious what happens the rest of the after hours and pre-market tomorrow. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's Friday. Could go either way. They could try to keep it under the 250. They're going to try to keep it under 3 for sure. But with that said, though, if there's a lot of buying pressure, the shorts could run themselves right out and end up having to cover tomorrow too. Fridays are good for short squeezes too. And you know where that leaves us on Monday. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll see what tomorrow brings.